We move on to cricket now as promised because the Proteas Test side has been in impressive form, securing a spot in the World Test Championship final at Lord's in June against the #1 ranked Test side in the world, which is Australia. And to talk more about this success of the Proteas Test side under the leadership of Shukri Conrad and Captain Themba Bavuma, as well as the SA20, we've roped in former Lions bowler Ayavuya Myoli, as the SA journalist of the year. Khanyiso Tshwaku will also join us. It doubles up as a commentator here on SABC Sport. But let's start with Aya. Great to see you here. Coach now, Aya Myoli, what does it mean for your playing days?
Thank you, Roman. I think, it's enjoying it. Yeah. I'm learning and just giving back and just still in the game. I think that's the most thing that I'm blessed with, that I'm still involved in the game and giving back my experience and also learning and coaching.
So where are you coaching now?
So I'm at Paris Cricket Club. I'm head coach of the club, and also I work at St. David's. And also there's a program that I run with Themba and with Glencore and Cricket South Africa that we're running in Northwest. That's we're starting from base and it's more development. So it's growing also.
Yeah, and I know you're very close with Themba. How do you feel about his current form now?
It's something I've always known. When Themba has done the work in the background, the domestic cricket, I think he's put in the runs. I think the reason that he's there because he's been one of the best cricket batters in the country. And then I'm not surprised. I think something I've always known of him is a proper batsman and he's a good batsman. And
you've worked with Coach Shukri also. What kind of a coach is he?
Yeah, Shuks, I've worked with him, and as one of the most experienced coaches, I'll tell you, he's been involved. He's played his cricket in the olden days, and also he's been with the younger guys in terms. He's coached all Lions. He's coached most domestic teams. He's been with high performance team. He knows the pipeline from HPC, High Performance Center, and he knows cricket and the kids that are coming up. So I think for him to be there in where he is now and coaching the national team, I think he's had relationship with most of the players and is very a chill coach to say. He's a father figure, a coach, and let guys be themselves, and he's just a mentor, and he just lets them do what they are and just keeps them grounded, and he's just there watching do what they do. As you can see, the guys are winning.
Yes, and we're also joined by SA Sports Journalist of the Year, Khanyiso Tshwaku. There, he is there to talk about the success of this test team. For you, Khanyiso, what's been key in this World Test Championship run for this team?
Good evening, gentlemen, and compliments. The long and the short of it is that they've been able to score runs when it's mattered. They've been able to take wickets when it's mattered.
And take their catches.
Exactly. And bowl 51 no balls and not be punished for that, even though one feels that if they're going to bowl that many no balls, it will catch up with them. It's something they need to sort out. They need to sort out quickly. But look, I mean, South Africa played situational back-to-basis cricket. They've adapted to conditions. They haven't put a name to their type of cricket. They've played a cricket that has suited the particular conditions. I mean, this particular, like we've got this particular shot up of this win in Catogram. That was probably one of the best examples of how South Africa adapted to conditions. They played some of their best cricket when they won that exciting first test in Mirpur. Look, there is also the complaint from Michael Vaughan, maybe Ravi Shashi, saying that South Africa beat nobody. However, South Africa won out of 8 possible tests. They won 7. They found themselves in the final. In other countries, will have to look back and realize that, yes, they're playing a larger volume of tests, but are they playing well enough? Because at the end of the day, I mean, if you look at India, for example, India, out of a possible 8 tests, they've only won 1. So you can't turn and say that South Africa are beating nobody. India weren't able to win their test matches. England, I mean, were overturned. Pakistan have been scored 800 odd. In one test, were unable to put together 800 runs across 4 innings in the remaining test matches. So South Africa did what they needed to do. They beat 2 in front of them, and they earned themselves a deserving spot in the final.
But Darren Limon doesn't think they can beat Australia. He thinks the Proteas will be walloped by Australia. How do you see this final, and what will be key in that final? Obviously, it's a long way away, but how do you see how do you rate the Proteas' chances?
Look, they're as good as any team at the moment. As much as Darren Limon has come to his conclusion, it also has to weigh up by being said that the Australian team isn't as good as everyone thinks it is. It is a side that is aging. They've only got 2 players. The current squad they played in the Border Gavaskar Trophy only had 2 players who are under the age of 30. So you already worry about the fact that that is a team that is growing old together. And you'd find that now, yes, they probably do have the experience. Look, it's the same team that helped, with the bulk of the team who helped win the World Cup. The 50 over World Cup, but also they were slightly caught short in the T20 World Cup last year. So you may find that as much as they're playing some really good cricket, they've won every bilateral trophy that's available to them at the moment. But you also feel that they're also starting to approach the end of their cycle.
Well, Ayavuya Myoli still here with us also. There's also the SA20 now moving away. Firstly, before we move away from the World Test Championship, do you fancy the Proteas? How do you see the Proteas' chances against Australia?
Yeah, I mean, I think the guys have done the work. I think they've won they've won the games. We only lost New Zealand, I think, where we took our second team.
Because of the SA20.
Because of the SA20. So I think the guys are ready, but the only worry is that it's the last time that we've just played test cricket. So we've got like till June. So that they spoke about that we're going to play against Afghanistan, or they're organizing matches against Afghanistan. So my thought, I think, because it's going to be summer now in England, I think like get your batters now to go play some county cricket, get used to the duke ball, get used to the conditions, and I think that should be the plan for them to go play some county, even if it's like Division 2 county. I think that will help guys to just get some game time, some red ball cricket in there. So if we can sort that out, I think nothing is stopping us. Some other guys are going to play in the IPL. There's a lot of cricket going on. So I think, and I think the team is gelled. I think what I see in that team, I think guys are more friends than they together in the team. I think there's a lot of unity there, and there's a lot of sportsmanship and
But how do they sort out the no balls then? Is it fast ball?
No, man, no balls is character. It's all about. It's something that you just you cannot talk about technique on whatever you run up. I think it's more of saying no balls. You have to go a step back. You just have to go a step back and say no balls. Other coaches used to just say, okay, if you bowl a no ball, it's 500 rand out of your match fee. I think it's more of an attitude thing than that. It's not something that you should worry about. I think now they know it, the bowlers know it, and it's something that I have to work on. I've got this time until June. So I think it's not going to be a problem when it comes to June.
Okay, not a big worry for Ayavuya Myoli. Khanyiso, the SA20 third season also underway. What does this SA20, what would you say it does for cricket here in South Africa? Because there's been a lot of positivity since it was launched.
It's adding money to the ecosystem. Remember that in terms of CSA's annual report last year, it added 57 million to CSA's coffers already. We've seen the crowd swelling up significantly. We've seen the excitement that has been building within the fans. So it is actually adding quite a significant tier to South African cricket. I think in terms of its cricket development from a player producing perspective, there needs to be a better passion, because if you look at how India developed the IPL, they needed to wait 15 years to win their second T20 World Cup, with a group of players who at the time when the IPL started were still in school and weren't actually playing any formative professional cricket. So I think the results will probably come. I mean, you saw earlier today Luandri Pretorius making that 97. Remember that he was part of last year's under 19 World Cup side with Kwenama Parker, Stephen Stoke, and all those kids are now playing are all playing SA20 cricket. So I think from a developmental perspective, it is playing a very, very crucial role at the moment.
But we know the IPL is intentional, giving young Indian talent an opportunity, and we've seen what's that done for their cricket. But considering our history here in South Africa, and with the SA20 coming here, and basically there are no regulations, it seems like people can do whatever they want. It does feel, though, that some guys are not getting enough chances here in the IPL. I mean, in the SA20 than what the Indians do with their IPL.
Yeah, to me, it's a kind of a worry. I think in terms of development and for where the country is, we come from since '94 when the guys we got into. So for us to not, like the first two games, there was no black African player playing in the first two games of the league, and I think you cannot tell me that we don't have black players that can play there. I think we do have. I think something that has to be sorted, something that has to be done. And for us to watch one or two guys playing there, not because the color of the skin, but by merit, it's the most important thing. I think we do have we have players like that. For example, you see likes of Andile Simelane who was there, and you have other players out there. He just came from the Proteas and he played some T20 cricket, and they want him to sit there. I think it probably hurts from him. Does he belong? What's happening? But it's something that has been discussed. and it's something that has to be talked and find a middle ground, I would say.
Yeah, because it's sad to see the likes of Snetema Keshila not even getting a contract here in the SA20. You expected them to get these chances and prove themselves playing at the high level here, Khanyiso. How would CSA have allowed something like this, considering where we come from and considering what happens in domestic cricket?
It's a difficult one because remember that you've also got the input of the Indian teams, because they're the major financial backers of the sides, and they would probably want to prioritize results and their selections over everything else. This is why now the CSA Provincial T20 Cricket Tournament becomes also important, because that is now the key staging point for Black South African players to actually show their worth. I mean, Andile Simelane played well enough to actually earn himself a national team cap, whether that stint came in just late enough for him to actually be drafted. I mean, look, we saw Luchos Pamela also being drafted in place of a Buren Hendricks.
Well, he had to come in as an injury replacement.
Yes, but whether he'll play or not will remain to be seen. So I think also the coaching staff and the scouts also do need to take a long, hard look at themselves, because at the end of the day, a lot of these players are playing in the domestic setup. The Slitterberg Oshile, for example, needs to also, for example, just take a bit more responsibility in terms of playing T20 cricket. Speak to Robin Peters and say, no, you know what? I want to open for the Warriors. I want to give myself enough of an opportunity to play in the top order, score runs as quickly as possible without impinging my natural game. We see now who Andile Simelane actually played to a point where he asked enough questions to play for the national team. And I think by virtue of being able to play for the national team, you should be able to push for a position to play in to actually get yourself an SA20 contract. But however, though, again, you also realize that there are different metrics in terms of how the guys who pick the teams in SA20 pick their sides. But the lack of Black South African players does remain an eyesore in the tournament.
Yeah, and especially because it's such a lucrative tournament also, it also changes lives also, and you would like some of these players to also get these opportunities. So I think the lack of representation is the one that leaves a sour taste in the mouth. But the SA20 has got off to a great start, even the third season of it, and we wish them all the best. But hopefully these matters can be addressed. Thank you, Khanyiso Tshwaku. Thank you to Coach Ayavuya Myoli. We'll see him again soon here on Sports Live.